It's time for Media Meltdowns, and Jimmy Kimmel's Trump-hating wife, Molly McNeely, wants you to know she's angry. Why? Because Donald Trump is president.
And I'm angry all the time, which isn't healthy at all. But I personalize everything now. When I see these terrible stories every day, I'm immediately mad at certain aunts, uncles, cousins who put him in power. And it's really hard. And
They're all nodding.
I wish I could deprogram myself in some way.
Just look at them nodding in awe. Now, Molly is also the head writer and executive producer of Jimmy Kimmel Live, which tells you a lot about her. Now, she's gone on this podcast, which is seriously called We Can Do Hard Things. And it's so Meghan Markle of her. I mean, look at Jimmy and Molly. Their net worth is estimated to be around $50 million, but they want you to listen to just how hard done by they are. And they're still upset that after a year has passed, Donald Trump won, and they're still angry about it. In fact, Molly has opened up about how badly she begged and begged her family members not to vote for Donald Trump, to the point she's now had to cut ties with her family.
I've sent many emails to family right before the election saying, I'm begging you, here's the 10 reasons not to vote for this guy. Please don't. And I either got ignored by 90% of them or got truly insane responses from a few.
Yeah, she goes on to encourage other families to cut off Trump-supporting family members or friends. And what do the podcast hosts have to say? Well, I think what Molly is doing is phenomenal.
That's so honest, and I feel like no one has ever said, at least to me directly,
no one said that,
the thing that, because that happens to me too. When
Wow.
when a headline comes about a certain thing, I get mad at personal people too. I think
Really?
Yes. Like if there's an anti-queer thing that comes out, it's like our brains have to focus on people because otherwise it's just this big boogeyman thing.
Brains can't focus, imploding. What Molly said was groundbreaking according to those podcast hosts, and they're now bonding over how triggered they are by the millions of people that voted for Donald Trump and that they know some of those people are related to some of those people. And if this podcast couldn't be any more insufferable, Jimmy Kimmel, well, he speaks out and he tries to blame Donald Trump's win on people being lied to, not from him, but from other more successful media outlets.
If those outlets didn't exist, we wouldn't have this. I think people would evaluate things based on facts, but it's just...
They have Cousin Molly's Instagram, and I give them facts every day, and they just seem to be ignoring them, and that's what bothers me. Okay, so they can watch Fox News all day, but the hard part for me, it's a strange position to be in, is you personally know two humans in your life you're related to. Our jobs here, we don't tell lies. We tell jokes, but we are literally scouring the news every day.
I mean, just a few months ago, Jimmy Kimmel was lying about Charlie Kirk's murder and then pretended to cry when he was brought back on air, and he offered no apology. Now let's check in on the charming Jennifer Welch, who's starting to become a regular on this Media Meltdown segment, because just weeks after applauding a woman who celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk, she's now complaining that there are plenty of Republicans who are people of faith and have a strong connection with the divine.
I think a lot of the people that are involved in this movement are either psychopaths, sociopaths, they like it. I'm talking about Stephen Miller, right? And then you've got people that are religious addicts. And you guys, that is a real thing. Somebody can be an alcoholic, somebody can be a drug addict. A lot of people are religious addicts, and you can Google it and read about it. And these religious addicts, like all addicts, sabotage things. Their default setting is to break things and create collateral damage. And I think even on the Supreme Court, we have some religious addicts. And I think in the administration, we have a ton of religious addicts, Mike Johnson, etc., Marco Rubio. And they think, okay, I'm doing a lot of bad in my private life. I guarantee you Sam Alito's Google search history is full of a lot of all right? Has to be.
Yeah, the party of the left, party of inclusion. Here was Jennifer Welch on the night of Mamdani's electoral win, claiming that Americans have no culture except for multiculturalism.
Americans have no culture except for multicultural.
Well said.
And we need to teach people how to embrace that. These pressed white people need to learn how to embrace it.
Joining us now is media strategist for MAHA PAC, Caitlin Sinclair. Caitlin, it is wonderful to see you again. Sorry for putting you through that, but there's a lot to react to. I mean, hearing from not only Jimmy Kimmel, that's painful enough, but his wife now encouraging people to cut off family members if they're Republicans. And of course, as we're getting closer to Thanksgiving, we're probably going to be hearing a lot more of that. Plenty of lefties crying into their phones, calling to boycott the holidays as they did last year. And then, of course, Jennifer Welch, mocking faith and then claiming that America has no culture except for multiculturalism. What did you make of that, Caitlin?
Yeah, well, first, let me get my little tiny violin, Gabriella, to cry a sob story for these privileged women. My question for Jimmy Kimmel's wife, when she brings up family values as her reason for Trump derangement syndrome, is what about all of the values from the conservative side that you seem to ignore? Does she value her kids being exposed to drag queens? Does she feel okay with women being forced to compete against men in sports? Does she not value female privacy, Gabriella? So she's okay with females, children, and women being exposed to grown men in locker rooms? I think I need to better understand what her family values are, so-called family values, because if you continue, these women continue, also with Jennifer Welch, to value politics over your family, then I actually think you're doing the whole family values thing wrong. And these women seem to want to attack any values or morals on the conservative side. I'm no therapist, but I don't know, that might be a sign of projection. I know a lot of therapists like to use that word.
100%. Now, the lefties are triggered once again because actress Sydney Sweeney is refusing to apologise for taking part in a successful jeans commercial. Sydney Sweeney, of course, sat down with GQ for an interview. She was there to promote her new movie, Christie, and she was basically asked if she would like to explain herself. Would she like to apologise to the lefty lunatics who were crying on camera, calling Sydney Sweeney a Nazi for taking part in a commercial?
The criticism of the content, which was basically that maybe specifically in this political climate, like white people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Like that was kind of like the criticism, broadly speaking. And since you are talking about this, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that specifically.
I think that when I have an issue that I want to speak about, people will hear.
Absolutely brilliant response from Sydney Sweeney. And how painful is that, journalist? I just want to give you the opportunity to apologise or to explain yourself.
You have to do it in the voice, Gabriella. You have to do it in her annoying voice.
I know, it's too much. It's absolutely too much. Caitlin, how brilliant was Sydney Sweeney?
I think that was a black belt performance. And what makes it so brilliant, and I think this is an important topic right now in our current culture, is talking about media literacy. Because media literacy in 2025 is almost like something you have to take a master class in. And it means really knowing when a question is a setup. And you see Sydney sitting there so composed, but there's almost this moment where a switch goes off and you can pick up on it, of course, for us in the media, where she can tell this is a setup. Yeah. And choosing not to step inside it. That is the power. And I think this is a lesson for anyone right now that's ever answering a question or ever getting a message from someone in the media or someone that calls himself a so-called journalist. And just in this world where we're chronically online, the interviewer's tone is on purpose. It's very soft. It's sympathetic. It's even I'm on your side sort of tone. And that is a classic setup. So the closer for me, the brilliance of all of this was I will be heard. Not I have to explain myself. Not I'll defend myself or I'll have to defend my image. It was I will be heard. So don't let these people decide your narrative. I think we're going to see a lot more of this, actually, a lot more of these Sydney Sweeney performances, because people are fed up with the so-called journalists and the lamestream leftists trying to always spin the narrative. And I think the skill is answering well, not falling into the trap. So
yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Now we have to talk about what's happened in New York City. I mean, last week, New Yorkers elected socialists around Mamdani as mayor of New York City. The rest of the world, and certainly over here in Australia, people are watching this horrified by the results, and plenty of concerns around what's going to happen to New York City. Now in Florida, a mayor over there is telling New York businesses to come to Florida as Mamdani is set to pursue a policy agenda that hinges on raising corporate taxes, hiking up taxes on the rich. Also in Connecticut, according to brokers over there, real estate is booming in parts as New Yorkers are looking looking to snap up homes, many holding fears over a potential economic downturn and city safety. Talk to us, Caitlin, about what you're seeing in New York following Mamdani's win.
Well, they're calling this the Mamdani migration, Gabriella. And of course, right, we have a lot of the wealthy class of New York, the affluent people that for some time leading up to this election were logically thinking about their next step. We're logically thinking about, oh, should I go to my second or third home? But that's not the biggest problem here. A bit more concerning for all your viewers following what we're facing here in New York is those that are walking away from deals, businesses that are now backing off on investments and saying no and not investing in property here or not bringing their business here or had deals that were about to go through and they're now walking away. That's the more concerning part than the wealthy people that are going to their second homes right now. So Mr. Mamdani has a big problem on his hands because guess what? Who's about to pay for all of his free stuff? He is now, I would argue, Florida's real estate salesman of 2025. I don't know if that was really his goal, but congrats to him because we are facing an uphill battle here in New York City, and there are so many concerns on multiple levels. But I would argue that the major part of this story and more concerning is the future investments that are now leaving this city.
Yeah, 100%. Looking ahead at the midterm elections and the MAHA movement, there are reports that the MAHA movement is going to be key in really boosting support for Republicans. As, of course, there is support with what RFK Jr. is doing when it comes to processed food, such as removing additives like dyes and excess sugar. Can you talk to us about the MAHA movement and what we're going to see as we inch closer, I should say, towards the midterms?
Yeah, I believe it or not, those midterms are right around the corner. And I think right now we're at an interesting intersection where we realize what matters to the left, what matters to conservatives, but what matters to both of us is health. So if anything, as we near closer and closer to midterms, this is the first movement in a long time where we have the potential to kind of depolarize the country. I think making America healthy again in this health movement can actually serve as the bridge to bring people together. And it's Republicans, it's our president, Donald Trump, it's RFK, and it's many Republicans that recognize this. And I think the left tends to focus on being angry and criticizing, but making America healthy again is not a red versus blue issue. At the end of the day, nobody wants a sick America. And in order to make America great again, we have to make America healthy again. So expect to see a lot of emphasis on the major wins coming from the MAHA movement and expect the MAHA movement to actually serve as that bridge, Gabriella.
And you're right about the left focusing on being angry. I mean, just listen to Jimmy Kimmel's wife. She'll tell you about it. MAHA PAC media strategist Caitlin Sinclair, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.